What's up, guys? I'm Mike from StockedUp, and welcome back to the Stocks with Mike and Tom show. We have a pretty crazy option we're looking at for the rest of this week. In this video, we're going to go over a $20 million option that expires pretty soon, and then we're also going to go over the stimulus updates and also how Apple is just exploding. So we actually saw a lot of crazy movement in the market today from a lot of tech stocks, especially Apple. Apple is really rallying off of their news on the iCar. So overall, make sure you guys stick around to the end of the video. We have a $20 million option, and we have a lot of great and important news to go over. And if you guys aren't subscribed already, don't forget to subscribe. Tom and I post brand new videos every single day. But with that being said, Tom, what happened in the stock market today?
Yeah, CNBC reported earlier this morning that the Dow jumped 200 points to a record as traders cheered the stimulus bill signing. The Dow rose, the Nasdaq rose, and the S&P rose, which is awesome to see. And the Nasdaq really rose today, which was really big for tech stocks. And it's really good to see. And they're still going to vote on whether or not to increase stimulus checks from $2,000 to $600 a person later today. But just keep in mind that news is still undecided, and the market is finally done with the stimulus deal, and we can actually start to move on from here to start 2021. But they're still going to vote to see if they want to increase it from $600 to $2,000. But Trump went ahead and signed the bill, so it's pretty much set in stone now.
Gotcha. So just for clarification, no matter what, we are going to see a stimulus deal. The only thing in question is whether the stimulus checks will be 2,000 or 600, right?
Yeah, and right now it's supposed to be 600, and they're voting to possibly make it 2,000.
Okay, awesome. So definitely keep your eyes on CNBC and other news sources for an update regarding that news. But overall, we can tell that the markets really liked the fact that no matter what, we are getting a stimulus deal finally. So we could also see that tech stocks exploded today, especially Apple, and they're getting really close to their all-time highs. So Tom, what's going on here?
Yeah, Apple is awesome. They're nearing their all-time highs, like you said, and this is because of that iCar announcement. And this is really awesome because the QQQ also went up today, which just helped Apple even climb higher. So Apple's looking really good, especially in the short term for me. I mean, they could always have a double top around 138, but I just think that they might really pass through that, especially with the news of the iCar. But just keep in mind that there is there's still a lot of revelations about the iCar. It won't even come out till 2024, so just keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, so overall, investors like it though. And when you look at Apple historically, especially when they have good news, they tend to run up a lot. So I'll definitely keep my eyes on Apple. Apple just like on an intraday chart, like only went up today. Like we could see how you pulled it up. Like it just went pretty much. It was just a nonstop runner today, which is always good to see with a big blue chip like Apple. But I noticed that the COVID stocks, Zoom and Peloton, are finally reversing. So they had amazing run-ups this year, but they're actually starting to tank. So what's going on in this situation?
Yeah, Zoom. You've been hearing a lot of good news about Zoom and even their CEO becoming one of the more richer persons in the world now that their stock actually flew up this high. And now that it's coming back down, he's obviously losing some money as this valuation drops. But man, you can see it's really starting to fall below the 100 SMA. I think I talked about this yesterday on Zoom, but just the downwards momentum on it is insane right now. So I'm just going to keep looking for puts on Zoom. And the other big one is Peloton. And man, this one's up a lot. And it just happened to actually have a huge red day today. And you could see that on an intraday chart, it really like did not hold any ground and actually closed at lows. So I'm going to be watching for Peloton to also be going down tomorrow. And just keep in mind that I do like the tech stocks overall to the upside, but just a few of these stocks that have really overran really what they should have this year, I think that they're going to start falling off over the next few months as the markets start to kind of equalize back out and as this new stimulus deal comes back into effect.
Gotcha. I'm really going to be eyeing Peloton to the downside. Looking at their chart, this is their first big red candle in quite some time. Overall, I can definitely see them pulling back. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's a big gap to fill, especially possibly back down to the 140 support. So I think that would be a pretty good level. You can see they hit that right there at 140 and then came right back down. So I think that 140 would pose as a pretty decent level to look at to the downside.
Gotcha. And then cruise lines had a pretty solid day today. I could see CCL was up about 4%. We had NCLH up about 4%. And then RCL also, oh, yeah, they were up about 3%. But looks like they're finally starting to come back. Is there any news there?
Yeah, there's actually some big news with vaccine optimism here, and it's really going to help the outlook on cruise lines this summer because if we have a vaccine come out, then obviously people aren't going to be near as infected as they would normally be. The infection rate should, in sense, go down. So that would obviously help the cruise lines, especially as we head into this next summer. And I think that's where they're going to see a lot of their growth. But right now, you can see that they did pop 4% today. And just on a daily chart here, cruise lines are starting to look pretty good to me, Mike. I mean, they have a long way back up to the top. It could be about a 50% rise if they did hit those levels. I mean, that's not a I mean, 100% rise if they hit those levels from around 28, 25, all the way back up to 50 on NCLH anyways. And I think that could be a pretty good, long-term hold at least, but just keep in mind that anything can happen with these and they're pretty risky just because they're pretty low in price.
Personally, I like the banking sector a little bit more than the cruise line sector right now. Like, I really like JP Morgan and Bank of America for a recovery back up. The cruise lines, they're not bad, they're just riskier. But they also have a higher reward potential too. So I'm sure they will come back, but I think it's definitely going to take some time. So let's get right into the member of the day. Today's member of the day is the King Lawson, and he made a post in the Discord today saying how he banked about 53% on Microsoft today. Microsoft calls, so great job, Lawson. Tom and I post completely free day trades every single morning, and he traded one of these day trades. Today's day trades were Microsoft and NIO. So Tom called out NIO to the downside, which worked amazing. And then I called out Microsoft to the upside, which took a little time, but ended up working out pretty good. So overall, great job, Lawson. And let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. In the first one, Tom, you already know Apple.
Yeah, make them go ahead and pop above 137.50. And this was a big runner today, especially since they're around all-time highs.
I mean, what are you thinking with Apple? Do you think we're going to break all-time highs this week?
Man, I mean, with the iCar stuff, I really think we will. I mean, look at Tesla and NIO and all these other stocks that have ran up off of this. And this is a phone slash computer company that now is going to come out with a car. So I would think that they would do pretty well off the news myself. I think that they could obviously break all time highs with this iCar announcement. I think that's a pretty big, pretty big sector right now, especially with the EV sector. And I think that this is going to throw a big wrench possibly into Tesla even going up because now they're going to have some competition coming out, some serious competition.
Let's take a look at Tesla. Yeah, they were pretty much unchanged today. They opened up higher and then ended up falling down. So we will see. But I'm still kind of surprised with the Apple news, just them getting into the EV sector. Like that's pretty crazy in my opinion. Like they're making iPhones and they make great products, obviously. But I would have just never guessed that they would get into the EV sector. But
Yeah, me
overall, it's
either. And
great.
apparently it's because of the batteries or something. Like they developed so much batteries that they figured that they might as well like integrate that into a car.
Yeah, well, we will see. With the next one, we have MA, which is MasterCard.
Yeah, MasterCard. Go ahead and make MasterCard pop above. Let's go ahead and see. Pop above 346.
All right, and then we have Zoom to the downside.
Zoom. Yeah, this one's unfortunate. I can't believe they keep going down, but make them pop below 349.
And then we have Moderna to the downside.
mRNA, go ahead and make them pop below 110.
All right, so we're eyeing Apple and MasterCard to the upside, and we're eyeing Zoom and Moderna to the downside. Basically, if they break the levels Tom listed for Apple and MasterCard, we would look at it for a day trade to the upside, and for Zoom and Moderna, day trades to the downside, but only if they can break the levels Tom listed. And now let's get right into the $20 million options trade that we are watching. We are watching the Apple 135 call options that expire on January 15th of 2021. Looking at Apple, they have a ton of momentum. They're a great company. Historically, they tend to run for a couple weeks at least. They have great news. They have great volume. They close near their highs. They have $20 million being put into their options. These options are in the money and they have time. Apple's looking pretty bullish right now, but don't just jump on the train and expect Apple to fly past 145 this week. Like anything can happen. Bad news can come out at any time. The momentum can change. But as of right now, Apple looks to be setting up pretty nicely. But like I said, that can change at any moment. At any time, bad news can come out, or so just be careful. But overall, Apple looks pretty bullish. What are you seeing, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, it's just really bullish. I would just watch for the double top around 138. If we can break that tomorrow, I'd possibly look at it for a day trade and possibly follow this play. It's a $20 million play, which is awesome. I love the momentum, just like you said. And I just have to agree with everything you said, Mike. I mean, you put the nail in the coffin on this one. Apple's just looking fantastic, and I just really like it to the upside. And my only concern is that 138 resistance there that they had in the past. But if we break that, then I think it's golden.
All right, sounds good. Let's get right into our comments from the previous episode. With the first question, we have Rich saying the last swing trade for me will be Neo and Baba. Thank you guys for doing what you do and helping everyone grow together. I'm ready to do even better in 2021. Forget all of the haters out there. So thank you so much, Rich, for sharing that. Tom and I are always looking to improve. We spend our weekends researching, analyzing data, and looking for improvements, whether it be for our trading or building software for the YouTube channel or for anything. We're always looking to improve. Thank you guys, all of you. Thank you all so much for all of the support, especially for everyone who leaves comments. Like I said, Tom and I are working nonstop to just improve everything, to improve the quality of the videos, the software, the everything. So thank you guys so much. And if you guys have suggestions for us, please let us know in the comments down below. We're always open to suggestions. And like I said, we're always looking to improve. But let's take a look at his trades, Tom. So he said the last swings for him will be NIO and Baba. So what are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, NIO just really looks like they're getting rejected off of that $50 resistance, and they're just pushing lower and lower here. I like this as a swing to the downside, and the same with Baba. I mean, if he's getting in Baba to the downside, I would hope that he got in before Thursday. I mean, I could possibly see them having a few green days after that huge drop that they've had over the past few weeks. But I mean, just other than that, I really like the trade on NIO a little bit better. But with Baba, I mean, I don't know which way he's talking about, but if he's talking about to the downside and he got in before this big drop, I mean, that would obviously be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. But what about even Baba to the upside? Like I know you and I were looking at it intraday today. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they could possibly see a few more green days before they fall a little bit more. It looks like that they are kind of starting to go flat and starting to consolidate, which is worrying me slightly. And they're doing it right along the 100 SMA. So I would watch out for that. But if they break this 100 SMA to the upside, I think that they could possibly have more green back up to the 230 level or possibly 231. I really like that. You can see how they had those couple green candles right here on this 1 minute chart in the pre-market. And just keep in mind they had a huge drop that day, so any type of weird movement could have happened here. But I would really be watching for that as a first resistance on the way up. But my main thing is I'm still going to be watching this to the downside. I know a few guys bought some calls like whenever it was falling on Thursday, but I just overall still think it could go down, especially with all the bad news in China. And China just seems to like not stop whenever they have like a problem like with a company or something. So I think that that's also why Baba has fallen over 30% from their highs, but it could be a good pickup for shares for the long term. But for options right now, I'm just not too sure about it.
Gotcha. So with the next question, we have Outlaw saying, yo, Mike and Tom, since you're talking about NIO, what would be a low point to buy back in? Thank you in advance. So I think this is a pretty good question. Personally, I was looking at the $40 support for NIO for shares. Do you have any major support levels or trend lines in mind for this setup?
Yeah, $40 looks pretty good. They've hit that a few times in the past. If they do fall below that, I think I'm going to be looking more at like the $30 level where they hit down here. I know that's a pretty far drop, but just given how much they've ran, I think that they could possibly come back down to 30. And if they do, then I think that that would be a pretty good level to pick up shares at. 40 would not be a bad spot to start averaging in at either. Like you said, they've hit off of that a few times, so they could possibly start rising from 40 as well. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. And obviously, the EV sector is popping, and it just $40 is not a bad price to start averaging in at all. I think I would go like half a position or a quarter of a position there.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. And you could even do like a cash secured put. Like you can sell the 30 strike put for NIO right now for about $115. If NIO falls down to 30, you pick up 100 shares at $30 each. If not, you keep your $115 and run. So I think that could be a pretty solid setup because NIO has high implied volatility. I think NIO could actually be a pretty solid setup for some cash secured puts. But with the next question, we have Clark saying, "Thanks for the great information, but I was curious about your thoughts on CCL." So, like I said earlier in the video, I like bank stocks a little bit more than I like cruise lines, but overall, it's not a bad setup with CCL. It's just risky. So, don't over leverage in this play. It is a risky setup, and you definitely have to keep that in mind. But it has a lot of potential to recover, especially with good vaccine news and stimulus news. That would obviously benefit this company, but it is risky. So please keep that in mind. So, Tom, do you have any advice for this setup?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, like, if you're going to play options, I don't think I would do that. I think if anything, I would just get shares on these stocks.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for sharing that. And with that being said, Tom, do you have any last minute stocks, options, or any insight for the rest of this week?
The one thing I was really watching is Coca-Cola. I've been watching them. They've had a long-term trend line here that they've bounced off of a couple of times, and today they actually had their first green candle above this trend line. So I think Coca-Cola could be a pretty good play. And at the end of the day, they actually bounced off of that and started kind of coming back up towards highs of like 54.44, at least highs over the past few weeks. And I just think that Coca-Cola is starting to look really good, especially to the upside, and they're almost moving very similar to like the bank stocks like JP Morgan and Bank of America. And maybe that's just because they're a value stock, but I just think that Coca-Cola looks awesome, especially off of this trend. You can't make these things up when you see these trend lines and stuff like this. So I hope it's a good play here and they can continue to go ahead and rise over the next few days. But I would not be surprised if they had a couple of consolidation days like around where they are. But overall, I really like this setup to the upside, especially off the trend.
Sounds good. I was also eyeing Starbucks, Visa, and Walmart potentially to the upside. I think they're setting up pretty nicely, so I'll definitely have my eyes on that. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys want to trade the same options as Tom and I every single day, plus access to the bots, you can click the Stocked Up options alerts link in the description down below. And thank you guys so much for all the comments. And if you guys like our videos, don't forget to subscribe. But with that being said, if you have any questions, let us know in the comments down below. But other than that, thanks for watching.